The stage lights blazed bright as the familiar tune of the America's Got Talent intro echoed through the massive theater. The audience was buzzing with excitement, phones raised high, waiting for the next act to step onto the stage. But when the stage doors opened, the room fell into a hush. Walking slowly into the spotlight were two elderly figures, a man and a woman, both Filipino, holding hands as they approached the center of the stage. The man, in his late 70s, wore a crisp white barong Tagalog tucked neatly into black trousers. The woman, perhaps a few years younger, wore a simple floral dress and a gentle smile that trembled with both nervousness and pride. They stood quietly in front of the microphone. The audience wasn't sure what to expect, and the judges' faces said it all. Simon Cowell leaned back in his chair, squinting curiously. "Well," he said with a hint of surprise, "this is unexpected." "Hello there, who do we have here?" The old man chuckled softly, adjusting his glasses. "Good evening, Sir Simon. My name is Roberto, and this is my lovely wife, Luz. We're from the Philippines." The audience clapped politely, some cheering at the mention of the Philippines. "How long have you two been married?" Sofia Vergara asked with her trademark smile. Luz looked at her husband and giggled. 52 years, ma'am. We've been singing together since we were teenagers." "That's beautiful," Heidi Klum said, smiling warmly. "And what will you be doing for us tonight?" Roberto took a deep breath. "We're going to sing a song that means a lot to us, and maybe to others who believe love never grows old." There was a gentle murmur of awe from the audience. But Simon's expression remained skeptical. "Okay," he said, tapping his pen against the desk. "Well, best of luck. The stage is yours." Luz gave a small nod, and Roberto turned to the side of the stage where a lone guitarist stood waiting. The gentle strum of an acoustic guitar filled the air, soft, melancholic, timeless. Then Luz began to sing. Her voice, though aged, was sweet, fragile, and breathtakingly pure. The song was "The Prayer," a duet made famous by Celine Dion and Andrea Bocelli. When her voice trembled on the first note, the audience fell silent again, hanging on every syllable. Then Roberto joined in. His deep, warm voice blended perfectly with hers, wrapping around Luz's in perfect harmony. It wasn't a performance of power, it was a performance of soul. Every lyric dripped with emotion, every note carried decades of love, laughter, and tears. In the front row, a young woman wiped her eyes. Another audience member clasped her hands over her mouth. And the judges, they were frozen. Simon leaned forward, his jaw slack, his eyes locked on the couple as they sang. Sofia's eyes shimmered with tears. Heidi pressed her hands against her heart. By the time the bridge came, Luz's voice soared higher than anyone expected. It cracked just slightly, but in that crack, there was honesty. There was life. Roberto's voice trembled as he joined her for the final lines, and together, their harmony filled the entire hall like a prayer whispered to heaven. When the last note faded, there was silence. Then, a roar. The audience leapt to their feet, clapping, screaming, whistling. Some were crying openly. Even the camera crew stood behind their rigs, smiling and shaking their heads in disbelief. Luz covered her mouth, stunned. Roberto bowed deeply, his hand clutching hers tightly. Tears streamed down Sofia Vergara's face as she stood, clapping hard. "That was so beautiful," she exclaimed. "You too, you made me cry." Heidi nodded, still misty-eyed. "There's just something about love that lasts. You can hear it in every note." Howie Mandel smiled softly, shaking his head. "You know, people come on this stage chasing fame. But what you brought, it's pure heart. It's what this show is all about." Then Simon leaned into his microphone. "You know," he began slowly, his voice softer than usual. "I'll be honest, when you walked out, I thought, oh no, this might not go well. But you just reminded everyone, including me, that music has no age limit. Talent has no expiration date. And love," he paused, emotion thick in his throat. "Love doesn't fade, it only grows stronger." The audience cheered again, louder this time. Luz and Roberto looked at each other, tears shining in both their eyes. Then Sofia, still wiping her tears, turned to Simon and said something that made the room hold its breath. "Simon," she said softly, "I think this deserves something special." Simon looked puzzled for a moment. Then she stood up, and slammed her hand down on the golden buzzer. The crowd exploded. Golden confetti burst from the ceiling like a shower of stars, swirling around the stage as Luz gasped and Roberto pulled her into his arms. They stood there in disbelief, surrounded by a storm of gold. Simon rose to his feet, smiling wide, a rare, genuine smile that reached his eyes. Sofia ran up to the stage, hugging the couple through tears. "You made me cry, you made everyone cry," she said through laughter. "You're proof that love never grows old." Luz sobbed against Sofia's shoulder, overwhelmed. "We just wanted to share our love," she whispered. As the confetti continued to fall, the cameras zoomed in on the couple, their wrinkled hands clasped together, their eyes shining with gratitude and wonder. The episode went viral overnight. Clips of Luz and Roberto's performance flooded social media, millions of views in hours. Headlines around the world read, "Greater than, elderly Filipino couple wins hearts with golden buzzer performance." "Too old, think again." This duo proves love and talent are timeless. Simon Cowell brought to tears by senior singer's emotional duet. YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, their faces were everywhere. In one emotional clip, you could see the moment Simon mouthed, "Beautiful," as the final note rang out. In another, a fan commented, "They didn't just sing, they told a lifetime of love in 5 minutes." Even celebrities shared the video. Lee Salonga reposted it with the caption, "Proud of my kababayans. This is why we sing, not for fame, but for love." The following week, back in their small home in Cebu, Luz and Roberto sat at their dining table surrounded by flowers and letters from fans all over the world. "From Brazil," Luz said, holding up one letter. She said our song reminded her of her grandparents. Roberto smiled, "And this one's from London. They want us to sing at a charity concert." Luz chuckled, shaking her head. "Imagine that, 2 old folks from the province, and now the world wants us to sing." Roberto reached across the table and held her hand. "You always said we'd have our moment. I guess it finally came." Luz looked at him tenderly. "It came because we never stopped believing." Weeks later, it was time for the America's Got Talent live shows in Los Angeles. As Luz and Roberto arrived backstage, the younger contestants gathered around them like family. Dancers, magicians, and singers all hugged them, calling them Lolo and Lola, Tagalog for grandpa and grandma. When their turn came, the entire theater chanted their names, Luz, Roberto, Luz, Roberto. Simon leaned over to Sofia and whispered, "They've become legends already." This time, the couple chose a song even more daring, "You Raise Me Up." The opening piano notes rang out as the stage filled with a soft, golden glow. Luz began, her voice steadier now, filled with quiet power. Roberto joined in for the second verse, and together they created something bigger than just music. It was faith, hope, endurance. The audience waved lights in the air, thousands of little stars dancing in rhythm. As the final chorus built, the music swelled, and Luz reached for Roberto's hand. Their voices joined as one. Greater than, "You raise me up, to more than I can be." By the time the song ended, the crowd was sobbing. Simon stood again, applauding slowly, tears in his eyes. "I don't care what happens in the finals," he said. "You've already won." Though they didn't take the top prize that season, Luz and Roberto's story became one of the most unforgettable moments in AGT history. Their journey inspired thousands of older performers around the world to chase their dreams, proving that age truly is just a number. Months later, they were invited to sing on Ellen, Good Morning America, and even at a benefit concert for senior artists in Manila. Everywhere they went, people would come up to them and say, "You reminded us what real love looks like." And every time, Luz would smile and answer softly, "It's never too late to share your song." 1 year later, back home in the Philippines, they stood again on a small stage, this time in their local church. The crowd wasn't as big, the lights not as bright, but as they began to sing the prayer, once more, surrounded by friends, family, and neighbors, the feeling was the same. Roberto looked at Luz as she sang, her voice still trembling, still beautiful. He smiled, his heart full. Because even though the world had seen their golden moment, he knew the truth, their real golden buzzer had always been the love they shared, through every note, every year, every song. And as their voices rose together once more, echoing softly through the church walls, everyone who listened felt the same message deep in their hearts. You're never too old to shine. You're never too late to be loved.